Okay, so I'm back. I'm alone. We had a bunch of folks. We had 50 people. We lost connection. So I see somebody's made it back. Hello there, whoever you are. Um, we'll give it a moment or two to see who else shows up. Okay, I see people are coming back. Yeah, nice to be back. Yeah, I froze, I guess. I mean, it looked like we had a bad connection, so I'm not sure if you were still there, but I went ahead and sometimes it just makes more sense to end it and start over again. So here we are. I'm glad you found your way back here, those of you that have. Hello, Sanjay. Good to see you. So we'll give people just a minute or two more to make their way back here. Hello, Terry. Good to see you. You made it. Yeah. All right. I hope you can still hear me. It just started pouring. As I was saying a few minutes ago, there's a tropical storm. I think in the Caribbean is where usually they're in the Caribbean, which is maybe 120 miles from here. Maybe a little more, maybe 180 miles from here. Close enough that where there's a tropical storm there, we'll usually get 1 or 2 days of rain. And so far today, usually it's sunny this time of the day. Not yet. Doesn't look like it's going to happen today. It's all just been raining and cloudy so far. So I see we've got most of you back. Thank you, sir. Okay, good. Yeah, I understand. You can hear the rain, huh? It's pretty loud here. Last night I was working out here and it started raining so hard, I decided it might be better to go inside and close the doors and the windows to cut down a little bit on the sound of the rain. We have metal roofs here, so when it rains really hard, I mean, this isn't that hard. When it rains really hard, it's sometimes it's hard to hear each other. Okay, so we've got some people here. M. Will, are you here? Let me know if you're here, M. I'm not seeing anything yet. So I'm going to wait and see if M. Will shows up again because M. Will had made a contribution through the super chat, and I hadn't gotten a chance to answer the question before we cut out. So Annie's here. It's beautiful. Yeah. In fact, not sure how much you can see. So you're actually seeing mostly the rain, the water running off of the roof more than anything else. Uh-oh. Yeah, you're mostly, if you were seeing anything there, you were seeing mostly the water coming off of the roof. But, thank you so much, Annie. I appreciate that. And he says she enjoys the videos. Okay, M. Will, are you here? All right, so I guess what I'll do is I'll take any other questions that there are. There's ITAC. And then M. Will, if you're here, let me know, and I'll come back to your question, okay? I'll go to your question next. So I'll just keep asking. ITAC says, hi, Loren, is it possible to absorb vitamins or minerals through the skin and benefit from it? Yes, in some cases. I mean, I don't recommend putting substances on the skin to absorb nutrients, but for instance, vitamin D is manufactured when sunlight hits the skin and cholesterol that the body produces is converted into this substance that we need. Okay? And so there's an example, but it's not the way to try to get our nutrients. Much better to get our nutrients from eating whole foods. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear to you. I'm going to respond to something very quick here. Give me just 1 second. I'm so sorry to do this to you. Okay, so the rain's picking up a little bit. Hopefully you can still hear me. All right. I hope that makes sense, ITAC. Um, yes, we do absorb things through the skin, but ideally, we're getting most of our nutrients by eating the foods that we're intended to eat, not by putting things on the skin in order to get nutrients. Okay? M. Will is here. Okay, good. So before we cut out last time, M. Will had asked a question. Let's see if I can remember the question. No, I don't. I don't recall now what you had asked. If you can, because I can see you're here, if you don't mind, post the question again. You don't need to make another donation. Just post the question. I'm watching, and I will respond to it. I'm sorry to ask you to type it again, but I don't recall exactly what it was now. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for that, Yari has made a €2 contribution and asked, Dad with stage 4 cancer, 3 years, when to confront him? Well, um, I don't know, Yari. I mean, as soon as possible. Stage 4 cancer is typically considered terminal cancer, so most people don't survive it. Stage 4 means that it's spread to multiple sites throughout the body, and most people aren't going to survive that. Now, some people do. Oh, you don't need to make another contribution. That's very generous. If you had just posted the question again, I would have been happy to answer it. But thank you so much. It's very generous. So I'm going to come back to you in just a second. Okay, so Yari, if it were me, I think it's time to have a conversation with your dad as soon as possible. And the way to do it, understand that as a young man, Yari's in his early 20s, very bright guy in law school, with the plan to go out there and help the world. I know your dad respects your intelligence and knows you're a bright guy, but he still probably sees you as his son and a law student and a, whatever else you have, that your history has, not an expert on health. And so don't be too surprised if he's not completely open. And what I would do is I would simply go to him and say, Dad, can we talk? And, assuming he says yes, I'm sure he will. He would say, Dad, I'm really concerned about you. This is serious. Medicine doesn't have particularly good history, a record, and there are natural ways, and then share with him what you know and what your beliefs are. And that's really all we can do, right? We offer our knowledge and experience. And Yari has experienced fasting with me recently, an amazing experience. But all we can do is share our knowledge and experience with people. We can't really expect them to believe us, to listen, to take it on. We can just offer it to them as a gift. I have something I think might help you. Would you be interested? And that's really all we can do. Okay, that's really all there is. We can't do more than that. And so, if he may or may not be willing to pay any attention. My own father died of a stroke after multiple heart attacks, and none of it was necessary, and he wasn't open to really hearing anything I had to say. And yet, I offered it to him because I knew I would have had trouble living with myself if I hadn't. I never thought he would be very open, but I thought, I've got to offer this to him because I want to help him. What am I going to do if I don't offer it to him and it could have helped him and then he dies, and maybe because of the lack of this information. So I'd always share, always offer it as a gift. What he does with that is up to him. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me come back to M. Will, who's been patiently waiting through 2 lives so far. When we grow older, we may become concerned about bone thinning and wonder if bone thinning is caused by dehydration. Thank you so much for all your insights. It's a really great question. And of course, I believe And it's just a belief. I mean, there's no science to support this. There's no studies that have been done. And let's be clear about this, first of all. When I say there's no science, that doesn't mean that it's not true, that something's not true. It doesn't mean it's not logical. It doesn't mean that it doesn't make perfect sense. It simply means that no one's actually undertaken research to demonstrate a causal effect between A and B. Okay, so there's no science to support the idea that osteoporosis, osteopenia, thinning bone, right? Osteoporosis means porous bone, is caused by dehydration, not directly. Now, I believe what's very clear is that it's caused by excess acidity. And let me explain very simply what's going on with osteoporosis. Okay, so our blood, if you remember your chemistry, you probably studied some chemistry in school, pH 7 is neutral. Anything above 7 is alkaline or basic. Anything below 7 is acidic. So the blood's pH has to stay in a narrow range between 7.35 and 7.45. So it's a very narrow range, 7.35, 7.45, slightly alkaline, slightly above this neutral point. Okay, so far? Now, that's where the blood has to stay. And if it moves too far outside of that range, there's this thing that happens, this condition that occurs. What's it called? Oh, yeah, death. Okay, it will kill you, right? So your body works very hard to maintain the blood within this range. Okay, now the problem is that everything we consume, eat or drink or smoke, has an effect on the body's pH. And let's just talk about food for a second. What foods are alkaline forming? What foods, and when I say alkaline forming and acid forming, I'm not talking about the pH of the food on the table. So for instance, an orange, a grapefruit, a pineapple, a kiwi, a strawberry, these are all things, a tomato, these are all things that contain a fair amount of acid, right? In the case of the citrus fruits, citric acid, it might be different acids than the other acid fruits, but they've got a pH lower than 7. The pH of an orange is somewhere around 3.5, if I remember correctly. So considerably lower than 7. But when you eat it, the impact on the body is actually alkaline forming. So it tends to raise your pH a little bit, not lower it. Okay, so it's not about the pH of the food, it's about the impact of eating that food on the body. How does that affect us? All right. Now, what's alkaline forming are fruits and vegetables. Okay, what's acid forming is everything else. So nuts and seeds are acid forming. Okay, animal products are acid forming. All animal products. Processed sugar is acid forming. Grains are acid forming. What else is there? Coffee, tea, acid forming. Alcohol, acid forming. So look at what most people consume. According to research in the last few years, the average person in North America is getting somewhere over 97% of their 96 or 97% of their calories from processed foods and animal products. And these are all things which are acid forming. And so every time the average person has a meal, what happens is their pH, their blood's pH tends to drop. Now remember, if it drops too far, that condition I mentioned earlier, death occurs. Okay? So what does the body do? Well, your body is going to desperately look for a way to maintain that pH higher, right, as it's tending to drop. It's going to try to bring it back up a little bit. Well, how does it do that? What can it do to bring up the pH? Now, your body can't say to you, hey, eat some salad to raise your pH, right? I mean, that's, you're eating whatever you're eating, and that your body doesn't have any power, any effect over that. So the body has to look for something within the body to bring the pH up. What the body has within the body to bring the pH up is alkaline minerals. There are minerals in the body, like calcium, for instance. Okay? And so osteoporosis, I mean, it's so important to understand this. And medicine doesn't teach this. Most people don't understand this at all. Maybe some of you here already knew this, and maybe some of you didn't. But here's the point. Osteoporosis is created by your virtually infinitely intelligent body, Ash is here, by your virtually infinitely intelligent body in order to protect you. Okay, your body creates osteoporosis on purpose, because you've created a situation where the only way to protect you yourself, to survive, is to take alkaline minerals from your bones and bring them into solution into the bloodstream to raise the pH of the bloodstream, of the blood. Okay, so it's not, now dehydration is a factor. It's a factor in everything. But the most important factor here with osteoporosis is an acidic diet, an acid-forming diet. So in order to correct osteoporosis, if you're dealing with osteoporosis or osteopenia, if you're not familiar with that term, osteoporosis means there's a certain amount of bone loss. And before you get to that stage where you're losing bone, but it hasn't reached a certain threshold, it's called osteopenia. Okay? So in order to deal with this, hello, buddy, I love you too. In order to deal with osteoporosis or osteopenia, out of my chest, please. Ow. What you can do, okay, in order to deal with this is, first of all, you can fast. Oh, come on. This guy is. Ow. Dude, you gotta get off. Sorry about that. Ash is incredibly needy. He's very affectionate, but he doesn't just like affection. He requires it, and he insists on it. He forces himself. It's not really the best time for him to be climbing all over me and getting his claws into my back and my neck. So I've got him here on my lap. Okay, so fasting. First step is fasting. Why fasting? Because fasting rebalances the body. Fasting is going to remove excess acidity, and that will require some water. So if you're dehydrated and eating poorly, which will also dehydrate you, you're going to become more acidic and therefore more osteoporosis. Okay? So that's how hydration, I think dehydration plays a role. It may not be the original cause. The original cause is eating and consuming things that don't belong in the body. All right, so the first step is fasting to rebalance the body. The next step, when you begin refeeding, is to eat only those things that are alkaline forming. Okay, we want to make sure we have the blood pH retained where it should be rather than being acidic. Now, we don't have to worry about becoming too alkaline. That can happen, but it doesn't usually happen by eating well. It usually happens by eating so poorly that the body overreacts because it's like life-threatening acidity, and the body overreacts and you wind up becoming over-alkaline, and that's called alkalosis. But it doesn't happen very often. Acidosis is very common. Most people are probably living in acidosis most of the time. That's an over-acidic system. Okay, so fast, follow the dietary recommendations I give you, get sunlight on a regular basis, and weight-bearing exercise. And if you're willing to do all four of those things, I can virtually guarantee you that you can reverse any osteoporosis or osteopenia. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, Emma has made another $10 contribution here, and he or she says, "We all appreciate you so much, Loren. My life is different since I discovered your channel 2 months ago." Well, thank you so much for saying so. I really appreciate that. I am aware that those people who are willing to actually apply what I'm saying, a lot of people are like, "Thank you so much for the knowledge," but then they don't actually do anything with it. If it's changed your life, it means you've changed your life. Because honestly, you're doing the difficult part. The easy part, listen, it's taken me 45 years to learn everything. That's how long I've been studying nutrition and health. And it's taken me that long to learn everything I currently know. I'm happy to share it. It's a pleasure to share it. I enjoy this very much. I really love being here and connecting this way. Dude, you got to stay down. But lots of people hear the information, okay? Lots of people hear the information. Not everyone acts on it, okay? So thank you so much for your kind comments. I just want you to know that you deserve the credit. each of you who are actually there making different choices, making better choices. And if you haven't taken action yet, what are you waiting for? Okay, you can do it anytime. Today, okay, today, decide to make better choices, right? You know, the first thing I did when I realized that cooked food was harmful to me is I got rid of my cookware. I got several large cardboard boxes, and I took all the food in my house that needed to be cooked to be eaten. And I put it in these boxes, and I took it to a homeless shelter. I mean, these are people who, you know, literally don't have enough to eat and might starve. And the shelter is going to decide whether they use it or not because some of the packages were open. Maybe they're going to throw it away. That's, I don't care. That's up to them. But I figured, I don't want to give it to people I love. I'd rather those people eat better, but I'm going to give it to people who actually need it. I don't want to enable people that have the means to make better choices to make poorer choices because I'm giving them stuff that isn't really the best for them. But for those people who really don't have other choices, to me, it seemed like the appropriate thing to do. And then when I moved, I renovated my kitchen in the new place and didn't put a stove in. Now, eventually, I left space for a stove, and I actually had to put a stove in eventually because I was required to before a bank would refinance my home. They said, without a stove, there's no kitchen. Without a kitchen, there's no house. You're going to have to put a stove in. So I put a stove in. When I sold the house 4 years later, I sold it with a brand new, 4-year-old, brand new, unused stove. It had never even been connected. It was a gas range that never was connected to the gas. It had never been turned on, not even once. Okay, here, and for the last several places I've been, we have no stove. There's no stove. There's no oven. There's no microwave. There's no grill. There's no way to cook anything. And it makes it a lot easier because, I don't know if maybe in some moment of weakness or some moment of desperation, I'm unhappy, I'm depressed, I've been dumped, whatever it is, I might choose to go eat some cooked food, some comfort food. Well, it's a lot harder here because there isn't any available. There's nothing, we're in the middle of nowhere. And what we have here, like right now in my kitchen, we have always, but right now we have watermelons and papayas and pineapples and mangoes. And let's see, we have maybe some grenadillas and some granadas, some passion fruit, some mame sapote. We have, what am I forgetting? We have star fruit. We have mulberries. Now, they're not all in the kitchen, but they're all on the grounds. We have avocados. We have tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce. I'm probably forgetting, bananas. Of course, we have several kinds of bananas. And there may be a few other things. Right now we have ikako, I mentioned earlier. Ikakos are going to be ready to pick very soon. We have water apples. We have, what are they called? Someone told me last week, and I forget again. We have these little orange members of the mangosteen family that are delicious. And we have those ready to pick right now. So, there's always these things. But this is it. This is what we're limited to. And so if I'm hungry, well, those are my options. And I'm not, it makes it a lot easier to make the best choices. Now, obviously, for those of you who live with other people who may not be on board, it's a little bit more challenging. What I would do if I were you is I would say, okay, all the food that I'm going to eat lives here on the counter, in this drawer, on this shelf, in the fridge, whatever. And that's the only place you look. The rest of it's off limits. It's not yours. And then you, even more importantly, you be really, really clear what you're committed to. So you make those choices that are in your own best interest because that's what you need to do on a consistent basis if you want to get the results. Okay? I'm so happy to hear from M. Will and Yari and other people who I know have benefited mightily by actually taking this information on board. Okay? For the rest of you, if you're doing it, that's great. Congratulations. If you haven't yet, let me just remind you that you have the power to create anything you choose to, including an amazing level of health. Like anything else, if you want to get what you want to get, you need to do what you need to do. Okay? So be willing to make the choices, and you're going to get the same results as everybody else. I'm going to move on down. Thank you so much for your comments. Tony Jansen, longtime friend, brother, has made a $10 donation, not asked a question. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Bakuldada has, Scrolled too fast. I've got to go back up here. Oh, okay. Bakuldata has made a 2-pound donation and said, Loren, what's the role of herbal teas, lemon, lime? Honestly, from the standpoint of what's optimal, I would say that none of those things actually have a role. Okay, because we eat only whole foods, and the things we eat are things that we could make a meal of. You're not going to make a meal of lemons or limes. Herbal teas, all herbs, all culinary herbs, are plants which produce alkaloids, the specific alkaloids which give them their characteristic smell and taste, and they produce these alkaloids to protect the plant. Okay, this is science. I'm not making this up. Okay, this is what they're doing. So basil, thyme, oregano, each of these herbs produces the alkaloids that give them their characteristic smell and taste in order to protect themselves. Why protect themselves? Because plants want to survive. And so the same is true with most of the plants. Like a mint tea. Mint is an herb, which the whole mint family is producing the characteristic smell in order to warn insects, their primary predator, that they're toxic. And they are toxic. So now, it's mild toxicity. If you want a little bit of herbal tea, it's not going to hurt you too much. I typically don't consume it. When I do, and I've mentioned this recently, I'm not sure if it was last week here or maybe on a chat somewhere, maybe one of my calls with clients in the last couple of days, I think. What I'll do, a year ago, I was in Orange County, California, somewhere, an hour south of LA, one of these high-end communities, at an event, a long weekend event, like a 4 or 5 day event at a hotel near the beach. And we had meetings every day in a meeting room, and it was freezing cold in the meeting room. And so, I knew I have lots of experience with these kinds of meetings. I knew it was going to be cold in there, and I came with long sleeves and, et cetera, sweaters. And still, I wound up having on several layers, but it was still so cold. What I would do is I would go out, there was a station right out front of the doors. I'd get myself a cup of hot water. I'd take a mint tea bag, dip it in there for just a moment, and like maybe 15 seconds, and pull it. It's just got the slightest hint of mint flavor without having much of the toxic mint oil in there. It helped me stay warm. Minimal effect because although still some effect, and actually tasted it in my mouth. There's always an aftertaste for me with herbs of any kind. So, honestly, I would say in terms of what's optimal, they don't have a role. Now, if you want to use lemon and lime to make some recipes from time to time, that's okay. You can use it as, with your salad. I use lime juice when I drink sugarcane juice. And again, this is an occasional thing, not a regular thing that's happening all the time, but something that I might do from time to time. We have a neighbor that makes cane juice. When we do our fruit festival, we get him here one day. He'll come up here, drive up in his pickup truck, pull in, and fire up his cane juicer. It's a big hydraulic press that squeezes all the liquid out of this hard cane. It's like a woody cane, like bamboo. And the juice, that comes out of it, it's mostly water, but it's quite sweet. It's so sweet that I like a little lime juice in there. That's occasionally, right? But if we were living in nature and eating only whole foods, we probably wouldn't be eating lemons or limes and wouldn't be drinking herbal teas. Okay, I hope that helps. Stephanie Poliche has made her customary donation. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I appreciate that. And her question is, good morning, Loren. Yes, indeed. Thanks so much. I'm glad you're here, as always. It's good to see you. By the way, Stephanie is involved and interested in what's happening with the community. Just to let you know, we are, I've been more actively working with the engineers and architects, and we're working on a site plan. It's going to take a little time, as I said last week, but I heard from them yesterday. Things are progressing. They're just keeping me updated, because if they don't, I bug them. And so they're now keeping me updated, and hopefully we're going to be moving this forward soon. We're supposed to be meeting with the mayor a couple weeks ago. He's actually been sick, and so that hasn't happened yet. It will happen. He's very friendly. I know his brothers. It's a very small town, so we pretty much know, and everyone knows us because we're the largest employer in his district. He definitely knows who we are. And so we'll be sitting down as soon as he's able to. And I do expect to be able to move that forward relatively quickly. Okay, we have a contribution here from Yaskarandu, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's a beautiful name. I wonder about you, where you're from, where that name comes from. Yaskaran says, has made a 5-pound donation, said, top 3 fruits for more bowel movements. Would you eat inorganic lettuce or bitter organic lettuce, or just stick to fruits? I'm totally happy on fruits. Well, I don't recommend eating only fruit. I would always recommend getting lettuce into your body at least a couple of times, 2-3 times a week. I believe that there are things that we need that we're only going to get from the leafy greens. And I don't think we have any anthropoid primate relatives, certainly not the chimps or the bonobos, our 2 closest relatives, who don't go, who go even a few days without eating some leaves. So they're eating mostly fruit as well, but they're also always eating some leaves. And I don't see any reason to believe we're going to be better off giving up the leaves, when it's definitely something that our bodies, I think, are adapted to and probably actually need. In fact, I mean, my experiences so far with people who have tried to go long periods of time without eating, and I don't mean weeks, I've done that many times, gone weeks without leaves, just fruit. But people who try to live years without leafy greens, I've never seen anyone who looks particularly healthy who's really survived doing that long term. I mean, some people are okay, but in terms of vibrantly healthy, I'm not so convinced that's really optimal. I may be wrong. I mean, I'm completely happy to admit that. I don't know, but I think for me, eating some greens is an insurance policy. And what's interesting for me is I'm very in touch with my body. And if I go 2 weeks without greens, my body's going to very clearly tell me that it wants them. Like, I'll get a very strong desire to eat a salad or eat some greens. And so I do. I listen to it. I might go a week or 2 without a salad sometimes, and then I'll eat. And then sometimes I'll have a salad 2 or 3 nights in a row. Or, well, sometimes I've been spoiled. I've had someone taking care of me, like a woman, who's living with me, who makes a salad for us both every night. Okay, I'm easy. I can eat a salad every single night. I love salad. I can eat a salad every single night. If she wasn't here right now, I'm single. I'm on my own here, so I'll eat fruit most nights because it's a lot easier. Like, I really don't want to spend time preparing food most of the time. I will sometimes, and sometimes I enjoy it. Like if I'm preparing for other people, they're doing a special event or something. But most of the time, I would just as soon grab a papaya and cut it in half and grab a spoon. Grab a watermelon, slice it up, or grab 10 bananas, and a meme sapote, and that's my meal. I don't have to do anything. I mean, it's like so simple. I really enjoy the fact that there's no prep and no cleanup involved. So that's what I would typically do. Okay, hope that makes sense. Now, the first question was, should it be organic or not, was basically the question. If you can get organic, it's always best. Lettuces do use a fair amount of pesticides these days. Excuse me. And so it would be best to stick with organic if you can get organic. Okay. I realize, depending on where you are, and because you made a donation in British pounds, I'm guessing you're in the UK. In the UK, I would think you'd be able to get organic. I've never had any trouble buying organic while I was there. You said, the question was inorganic lettuce or organic, bitter organic lettuce. So I'm guessing what you're saying is right now, maybe the only, or sometimes the only choice you have with organic is a little bit bitter. I would probably still go for the organic, right? When I lived in the US and had organic readily available, here it's a lot harder to get organic, at least certified organic. People tell us, we don't know. We do the best we can to buy the highest quality possible and as much organic as possible. But sometimes we don't really know. In the US, I bought exclusively organic produce, except for a once a month durian party. I couldn't find organic durian. And I'm not going to give up durian because it's not organic. I'm just not going to eat it so often. Okay, so I hope that helps. I'm going to move on down. Time is wasting here. It's moving on. And, what happened here? I think I was about to skip one. oh man, it's so easy to skip over these things. It's amazing. Like the slightest touch, and I realize I'm much further down than I thought I was. So I realize I've got a couple more here at least. This is Those Love Songs. Back again. Thank you so much. Has made a $25 donation. That is so generous. I truly appreciate that. Thank you. I apologize because I'm thinking maybe you've identified yourself. I'm thinking maybe we've spoken, but I don't right now remember who you are. So I can't thank you by name, and maybe you prefer that. I don't know. But I want to thank you anyway. It's very, very generous, and I appreciate it very much. It definitely makes it easy for me to do this because honestly, we are still here in a position where our borders are closed. They tell us they're going to open on the 15th of June. I hope that's true. So far, we do have people. I just got a message from someone a little while ago saying, okay, they want to book their 4-week stay. They don't even know when they're coming. And it's a good time to point out that I'm still offering a 20% discount. So if you're here and you want to come and you're not sure when, if you pay in full now, there's a chance to save 20%. And that's before the rates eventually go up again, right? Because that's what happens every year. Our expenses keep going up. Right now, the bank still expects me to pay the mortgage. We're expected to pay insurance and pay taxes. And, we're paying a little bit less in Social Security because I have some of the staff working fewer hours now because there's no one here. We actually have one person here now. An amazing, amazing woman. It's a joy to have her here. But, we should have had like 30 some people here right now. And so having these contributions is helpful. Okay. Some of you might be thinking, I can only give $5 or $10. That's not going to help. Oh, it does. It adds up. Imagine if everybody here donated $10. That would be amazing. It would make it, it would help dramatically because it costs us almost $1,000 a day to be open. That's just the cost to be here with mortgages and taxes and insurance and salaries. And we haven't fired anyone. Here we've gone 2 months. We've been forced to be closed. We can't do what we normally do. And we haven't let anyone go. We've reduced hours by, 20% for a few of our staff who are really non-essential right now. But, because I know they depend on the income. So they're still getting 80% of their pay, and they're not having to work 80%. They're only working, 75%, but they're getting paid more. I forget the exact numbers. Okay, I'm actually paying them a larger percentage than they're working because they can take more time off for free and small reduction in pay. And that helps us a little bit, but it's not a huge thing. Anyway, so Insane Marketers has made a $5 donation and asks, I guess, cravings for veg and avocado, day 6 refeeding, 30-day water fast. Okay, nope, I wouldn't do that. Nope, definitely not. Is unbalanced unblanched almond butter okay refeeding? Nope, definitely not. Can we recover from small compromises? Well, yeah, perhaps, but why make them? It's very hard to stop once you make these compromises. These things are addictive. I wouldn't be giving anyone avocados at this point. I would give you a small salad on around the 9th night, only at night, with a quarter of an avocado, no more than that. Definitely no nuts or seeds, no nut butters. Serious compromises, okay? I wouldn't do it. And, again, I apologize. I don't think I know who you are, what you're up to and what your experience is, but I'll guarantee you that if you can have me guide you, it'll be a much better experience next time. Much more benefit and you'll be safer. But maybe you feel perfectly safe, much more benefit. That's what everyone says. Every single person says, wow, way more powerful when I had guidance. Okay. And that's just the benefit of experience. I've been guiding people now for more than 23 years and have taken thousands of people through long processes and have fasted dozens of times myself. So, all right, let me scroll on down. Thank you very much for the contribution. I appreciate that. Those Love Songs has made another $10 donation. Same thing. It's so hard for me to scroll here without going too fast. Let me make sure that's the same one now. Okay. So Those Love Songs says stevia leaves taste great in salad. Is that something that isn't toxic? Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to take a look. I've never done the research. I mean, you can easily go to Google and type in toxicity of stevia or stevia leaves and see what comes up. Stevia, most of you probably know, is a natural sweetener. The leaves have a sweet taste. They have, I believe, no calories, but provide some sweetness. Personally, what I would do, and this isn't going to work for anyone that's got a blood sugar issue or a candida problem, but I don't. And so when I do a simple salad, I'll wait until my staff has finished feeding our guests when we're open, and we've got people we're feeding. And then there might be, part of a mango left over or half of a pineapple left over. And I'll just chop that up and throw it in my salad. And that's all I need. That's sweet enough. Most salad dressings have a lot of sugar in them. So we're used to eating sweet dressings on salads, but that's what I do. I wouldn't personally do anything other than that. I don't usually make dressings unless I'm feeding other people. When I'm feeding people who are used to eating salad dressings, I will, but for myself, I typically don't. Okay, I hope that helps. Josh Grandu has made another £5 donation and said, cat allergy somewhere on your property to relax outside without being bothered by cats, cat hair on chairs, in the air, on a fast, mosquitoes in the day. We have very, very few mosquitoes here all year long, even fewer of them in the dry season. So if you're particularly, almost, there's very, very few. And here's the interesting thing, by the way, if you're not aware of this. So I have a staff member. It was last week. We didn't have a client here yet. We were doing 2 movies a week as a group, and me and the volunteers here. Wednesday nights, Tuesday or Wednesday nights, and Saturday nights, we'd get together in the living area. We have a big screen. We'd roll out and we'd watch a movie together. And it wasn't a cool night. It was still fairly warm. And one of the volunteers had a blanket around her. And I said, "Are you cold?" And she said, "No, it's for mosquitoes." And I forgot, because the mosquitoes, whatever the insects are, mosquitoes or whatever they are, they bother her. They virtually never bite me. And what I found is that when your body is clean enough, they'll leave you alone. They used to bite me, but not anymore. They leave me alone. You can get to the same place. In the meantime, come during the dry season, we have even fewer. There's very few here anyway, even in the rainy season, but less in the dry season. Okay? Cats, it's impossible to keep cats out of outdoor spaces. So there's no place on site that I can guarantee you a cat hasn't been. But here's the thing. We have people here who are allergic to cats all the time, and we've never had a problem in the open spaces. Now, we don't let cats in the guest rooms. And so you're not going to have cat hair on your bed. They're not going to have been in your room. In the public spaces, it just doesn't seem to bother people. And I think it's because the immune system immediately becomes healthier and doesn't overreact, which is what an allergic response is. It's an overreaction. And it's everything's open air here. And so it doesn't tend to be an issue for anyone. Hardly ever for anyone. There are ways to deal with it if that is a real concern, but it's something that virtually no one's ever had an issue with, and I doubt that you would either. Okay, I hope that helps. One of the things we can do, we have chairs, for instance, that have cushions, which you could flip over. So, it's like the chair itself isn't something it's not upholstered. It's not going to hold the dander from the cat. And if you flip the cushion over, it's on the bottom now, and you're sitting on the part that hasn't been touched, or you wear clothing that's, you're not going to be touching it, because everything we have is natural materials, wood and fibers, etc. These chairs are an exception. These are outdoor chairs, so this is some sort of a man-made fiber that can get wet. It doesn't get wet here, but it's made to be able to. But most of the chairs in the living area, everything is natural fibers, and we don't have so many things that this dander would actually stick to. It's just not really an issue for people. Okay, I hope that helps. Elena Vasileva Batinkova. Elena, I'm guessing you're Russian or perhaps from the Ukraine, somewhere from that part of the world. I'm guessing. It's a beautiful name, by the way. I'm sure I probably just murdered it in trying to say it, and I apologize for that. Elena has made a £5 donation and has said, "Hello, Loren. Thanks for your valued info. Can you tell us what exactly you eat in a day, morning, lunch, dinner, water, juices, etc. And please, what salads?" Sure. I'll be glad to tell you what I eat in a day. Listen carefully, because it would be easy to miss. So typical breakfast for me, probably 4 days a week or 5 days a week, is watermelon. I'll take a whole round watermelon, about this big. It's probably 2 to 3 kilos, I would guess, something like that, of edible portion. And I'll eat that. That's breakfast. That happens for me usually around 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Sometimes it's earlier, it depends. Lately, in fact, this week, I'm taking a 1-week course. It's a 1-week challenge. And I have a call every day from noon until around 2, 1:30 to 2. And so I don't really want to be eating on the call. I have, but sometimes I've eaten a little bit earlier, like even, just before noon. I guess most days I've eaten on the call. And I eat after the call. That's fine too. The issue is that sometimes I have to run or have somewhere, another appointment right away. And so I'm in the same same position. So, sometimes we have to work around real life stuff, schedules, etc. But typically for me, my breakfast is going to be around 2 in the afternoon. You can call it breakfast and lunch if you want, because there's only one more meal, dinner, and it will be, as I said earlier, it might be like 2 papayas about this size. It might be 4 or 5 big mangoes, or 6 or 7 smaller ones, depending on their size. It might be 7 or 8 large, or maybe 15 or 20 smaller ones, depending on their size. We have bananas that go from being only like 4 inches long to, well, we have plantains. They actually haven't fruited yet, but we have a plantain plant that will produce fruit that's about 3 feet long, 90 centimeters long. And so that's quite a range. I wouldn't eat one of those probably. If it were ripe, I probably wouldn't eat the whole thing at one time. It'd be too much. With the little tiny ones, I can probably eat a bunch at a time. And that's it. And then, again, 2 or 3 times a week for me, it might be a green salad. When I have a salad, it's typically going to be lettuce, cucumber, tomatoes, avocado. And those are pretty much given most of the time. Sometimes I'll leave out cucumbers, although I love cucumbers, especially in noodles. I'll put them through a little hand thing that turns them into noodles, and I love the consistency of that. I like it better than sliced up. I don't always use them, but usually do. Other things, there could be red or yellow or orange peppers in there, and then sometimes I'll include some fruit, a little bit of star fruit, a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of mango, one or the other. You're not usually more than one. Again, I don't normally combine fruits, the sweet fruits. I'll normally use one of them in a green salad. Not always, but sometimes. And that's it. Most of the time, my diet is really that simple. Again, we have lots of different fruits available to us through the year that come and go. So when it's rambutan season, I'll have meals that are just rambutan. And if I can get mangosteens, I'll have meals that are just mangosteens. I love mangosteens. We're waiting for the first rolinias on the tree now. When I can eat a meal of rolinias, I'll be very happy to do that. Or anonas, same family. Things like mame sapote, which we have on the trees, and nispero, same family. They're so sweet that I won't eat a whole meal of those. So I might eat 5 or 6 bananas, depending on their size or more, and then eat 1 sapote with them, because the sapotes are so sweet. They're way sweeter than the bananas. Usually, that for me, that's sort of, again, so most of my fruit meals are mono meals, but sometimes I'll combine, especially with some of the fruits that are so sweet. It's too much for me to eat it all at, like a whole meal of that at one time. Eating 1 sapote, it's not going to be enough fuel for me. It's not going to be enough food, but it's too sweet to want to eat 2 for me. Okay, it might be different for you. Okay, hope that helps. And again, thanks so much for the kind donation. I just realized I am late and have a call I need to get to. I'm just double checking my calendar. I believe I've got a call here I need to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down real quick and see if there's any other last questions that I haven't already gotten to. Then I'm going to have to jump off the call. I hope you'll forgive me, but let me see here. Is that the next one? Yeah. Okay. So let me see here. Sherry is back. Sherry is often with us. Sherry has made a $5 donation. Thank you so much. And says, future video idea for you. This is your motivation video to never eat cook again and why I never will. Thanks as always for sharing your wisdom. Okay, sure. I'm not completely sure I understand, but maybe we can exchange some email about that. I'd be interested in exploring that idea. Brenda Lee. So Yaskarandu, Brenda says, I have cat allergies and I've been to Tanglewood a few times with no allergy issues in the outdoor space. And I think what you're saying, Brenda, is no allergy issues because, again, in the indoor space, the cats aren't. In the outdoor space, it's just not an issue, as I was saying before. Thank you so much, Brenda. And Brenda, by the way, has made a $6.99 Canadian donation. And Brenda frequently donates and has actually helped me immensely with the fruit festivals, helping to get the word out there. Did not need to make the donation, but I know wants to support what we're doing here. As she said, she's been here a few times. And Brenda's an amazing person and a dear friend. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hopefully you got that message, Yaskarandu, and anyone else who might be concerned about that issue. So folks, I've got to go. Have a great week. I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. If there's any significant news about the ongoing planned situation here, the CV, I will maybe jump back live as one of the days in the middle of the week between now and next Friday. Okay, we'll see what happens. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Bye-bye.